Hello and welcome to Boyd's Blue Alpine Freeze Drying channel. Today I was able to get a really good deal on some fruit that was basically a day from going bad. So when I got home I was planning on eating it the next day or two, but my wife said, why don't you just freeze dry it? I was like, okay. So that's what we do. So I've got 4 or 5 pears I'm going to slice to freeze dry, and then I'm going to cut up some grapefruits and some limes and maybe a few oranges, do some citrus. And I've even got some apples that'll probably go bad, so I'll probably try a few apples as well. So right now I'm just going to slice these up and get them on the trays, weigh them, and then we'll get them in the freeze dryer and go from there. So thank you again for coming to my channel, and I guess I'll just let you follow me along, do something I rarely do, is let you see how I prepare the food, but I will go ahead and do some of that for you today. Thank you. So I'm going to start with the pears, and the first thing, I'm just going to do slices. So I'm going to start by just kind of slicing the outer edges. I'm doing it about a quarter of an inch thick. Actually, I need to move my scale here. I'll weigh them in a few minutes. But I'm just starting with a quarter inch, 1/8 of an inch to quarter of an inch slice, and when I get to the center, because the pears are so soft, I just use a melon baller to cut out the seeds, and that gets the seeds out really nicely and just leaves the remainder of the pear. And then from there I'm just going to change the direction and slice it through here. So I just go through until I start seeing the seeds, and then I slice it from there. That gives me a really nice seedless pear, and I'll just spread those out on the things. I've only got 5 pears here. I don't think I'm going to need too much space. I'm not going to worry about them making contact with each other on the tray. Like I said, this fruit's really fresh, or really ripe, I should say. So it's not going to stay much more than another day. I was hoping I'd get a couple days out of these, but I got 6 pears for $1. So when pears are normally selling for $2 or $3 a pound, to get 6 of them for $1, I thought, yeah, even though they're close to being bad. I ate one last night, it was delicious, but today when I got up and went to get another one, I realized that the skins were starting to turn a little bit dark on them. And so I thought, well, rather than trying to salvage these and eat them right now, I'll just freeze dry them, and I'll have nice pears that'll last for a few more months. And I got got the same deal with the the limes that are normally, the limes would have normally been about, I think they were selling them for 90 cents a piece, and this had a bag of 6 to 7 of them for only $1. It was 99-cent sale. So that's basically how I'm doing the pears. So I just basically melon ball the seeds out of it and then slice the rest of the pear. And it does, I realized by cutting the first batch of slices, I end up with a bunch of odd shaped pear slices here that, some of them are full slices, some are just half slices, but they all will taste like pear, and most of these will probably be eaten. Got a bit of a stiff stem there, so just cut that piece out. So yeah, it'll have some weird shapes, but I don't really care what the shape of the fruit looks like when I'm eating freeze-dried fruit. That's the least of my worries, is what they look like as far as the shapes go. I mean, if I really wanted to, I guess I could get a whole bunch of pieces that look like pears, but I'm not too concerned about it. So just want to get the pear fruit freeze-dried so it'll be edible more than one day. So now I'll be able to eat this over the next 30 years. It's just a matter of when I decide to open the bags and eat them. So make it into a pear dessert. So that's my plan. I'm just going to do this 5 pears on one tray. I realize they will stack up a little bit, but like the other fruits I've done, they might break off when I'm separating them after they're freeze dried, but most of them will probably work pretty well even after I try to separate them from the freeze dryer. So anyway, so I'm not too concerned if they make contact. I don't want them totally on top of each other, but a little bit of a separation will be fine. There's my pears. And now I will this pan so I know the exact weight for him. See how much he weighs. Okay, that's good. Now I'll just put the grapefruit on this one. I already cut some of the grapefruit. I think for this one, just because I was gonna do rings, but I think I'm gonna try to make the grapefruit slices more like the ring. Let me go and wash my. Yeah. I'll just use the other knife and tray. Oh no. So. Okay. So. Just use this knife. So this is grapefruit. So I'm just going to cut it down the middle like this, and cut this one down the center as well. And I'm just going to make little wedges out of these. So I'll just kind of cut about 1/4 inch wedges of each piece. I'm just kind of going to the center of the grapefruit. Spread those out. With citrus, you can, if you save the rind, or you leave the peel on it. Some people don't want the peel, but depending on how you're going to use the fruit later on, I found that freeze drying it with the peel, we can rehydrate the peel later and use the peel, or we can do some with or without the peel. But I just prefer to leave the peel on it. Since I've only got a couple of grapefruits here, I'm just going to leave the peel on it. And same thing with my limes, I'm going to leave the peels on it. It'd probably be easier to use without the peels. Freeze dried without the peel would probably be an easier way to use it, but from what I understand, if we rehydrate it, we can cut the peels off later too, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Grapefruit wedges. I've never eaten freeze-dried grapefruit before, so I'm hoping this is going to work out okay. Don't know if I'll, it's going to be a bit sour, so I don't know if I'll just rehydrate these into drinks. Make a citrus drink, like a lemonade, or just add it to another fruit drink. We do make a lot of fruit smoothies here, so I might just add the grapefruit into a smoothie or something, but now, yeah, so I'm just gonna get these last few pieces of grapefruit on this tray and go from there. And then I'll cut the limes the same way. For the apples, the way I do it, I just slice them in half, and then I use a paring knife, and I just cut out the very bottom part, and then I'll just stick the tip of the paring knife in to cut out the seeds. So I'll just cut a little circle around where the seeds are at, and then pop out the seeds so the center is cord out. So we'll just basically get rid of the stem part at the bottom and top, and then just cut a small circle with just the tip of the paring knife, just enough to get the seeds all out of it. And I find that works really well. I do have one of those apple coring devices where you just basically slide the apple down and it pre-cuts the apples into individual triangle wedges. It makes apple wedges out of it and removes the whole core. But I also think that on smaller apples, that tends to throw more apple out than core. It does a really good job with a really large apple, but these small apples like these, I find that it's just a lot of wasted fruit. So in this case, I'm just trying to do thin slices, just do a bunch of apple slices. So I'm going to kind of just cut them just like I did the pear, where I'll just get a whole bunch of slices that might not look like half an apple, but they'll look like nice little apple wedges. And I'm just going to spread them onto the trays, just like I kind of like I did the pears. I'm just going to pre-slice everything and then just put these slices. They're about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I don't think anything is bigger than 1/4, and I try not to have anything less than 1/8 of an inch. And that way they'll hopefully all freeze dry at about the same speed. I might end up with two trays of apples here. I could probably stack them on top of each other and it probably wouldn't hurt. So we'll just see how many apples I get slicing them this way. But that's all. I'm just slicing the apples, kind of give you an idea of how I'm doing the apples in this case. Now all I've got left to cut are the limes. So I'm just going to go ahead and I think I'm going to slice the limes. I'm just going to cut the ends off now, and then I'll just slice them into Same with the other ones. I'm doing little 1/4-inch slices, and then lay the slices on the tray, weigh them, and put them in the freezer. So in the meantime, I've started the freeze dryer on running the test refrigeration cycle, which tests it for 1 hour. So while I'm cutting these items, the freezer is actually in a maximum freeze cycle. It's just testing the refrigeration. So rather than using the freezer settings, I will use the freeze settings to freeze the food before it freeze dries it. But I'm also running the 1 hour testing the equipment test to just test it gives it 1 hour of running it at its coldest temperature, and it'll run it to like 22 degrees below zero. So before I put this tray in there, the freeze dryer will already be below zero freezing temperature, and it will just speed up the freezing process of this one once it goes in there. And the other food that was already in there will already have a half hour or 45 minute or an hour of freezing time. So it'll make them freeze quicker, so I can cut back some of the freezing time of the freeze dryer itself. So that's what we're gonna do. So let me just get these sliced on the tray, and we'll get them in the freeze dryer. To cut up the remaining limes, I just basically slice them really thin when I get to the end, so I don't have to slice that thin by putting them together. Just kind of slice it up against the next piece, so I can get those last little slices without having to hold a teeny slice. I just push it up against the other lime. So kind of get these sliced into 1/8-inch, 1/4-inch slices, and then just place them on the tray. And if you'll notice the tray, I'm not putting them totally flat. I am resting the edges up on each other. I'm sure these will separate quite easily with the rind or the skin on the outside. It'll have no problem separating after they're freeze dried. So I think I've got enough room for this last tray to pretty much be flat, but really close to it. That's what it looks like right now. It's just stacked up lime. Need to weigh it, so I'll start my scale here. Give me the weight there. But for now, let's go ahead and get this in the freeze dryer. Give it 6 to 8 hours. Probably give it full 7 hours of freeze time and then 20 hours of dry time. So we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got my some of the food in the freeze dryer. Some of these have been freezing for about 25-30 minutes. I got the limes I just barely cut. The apples have been in there for about 20 minutes, and they're starting to get hard on the outside, but they're not quite frozen yet. The grapefruit, feeling stiff but not frozen, and the pears have been in for probably the longest, probably about 40 minutes, and those are they're stiffening, but they're not frozen yet. So I'll just put all these in. You can kind of see a little bit of ice inside there. I don't know if you can see the ice in the bottom of the tray down there, but it has been running for a while. So I'll just close this freezer up and go through and show you the settings I'm using. I have now got the fruit inside the freeze dryer. I've modified the settings for fruit. I just upgraded the mTORs to 975. It was set at 900. Because I've already been pre-freezing mine, I also reduced the freeze time from 8 hours to 7 hours. So I'm going to have a freezing time of 7 hours, a dry time of 24, and temperature of 105 degrees. My understanding with the fruits, especially the sensitive fruit or the really fragile fruits like the peaches, bananas, pears, even apples, the lower the temperature, the more likely they are to maintain their shape. If you do too high a temperature, it will actually start to shrink and curl the edges and change the shape so it doesn't look like the original fruit shape. Ensure the door is locked and the valve is closed tight, and it was not, so I'm glad I checked that. The valve is now checked and closed, and let's start the freezer. So we'll check back in 31 hours.
As you can see here, I'm weighing the fruit as it comes out of the freeze dryer. I had to redo the audio after I was done because I had accidentally left the freeze dryer running and you could barely hear me speaking when I was filming it originally. So I just weighed all the fruit as it comes out. I'd pre-weighed the tray so I knew the exact weight of each tray, and with the silicone mat, so I knew exactly how much it weighs. So in this case, most of the trays are about 1,000 to 1,020 grams with the silicone mat. In the case of the limes, it was about 880 grams with fresh fruit, and when it came out, it was about 217 grams of dry fruit. And so I just use that to calculate, knowing I started off with 13 limes, I can calculate exactly how much fruit, dry fruit would equal each lime. And I was able to rehydrate. I had a few limes left over, a few slices, so I threw them in a Sprite and it rehydrated in the drink, and it tasted really good. And when I refilled the drink, the fruit was fully rehydrated. I just kind of squeezed it, got a little bit more fresh juice out of it. So I have found that I really do like the freeze-dried limes. It makes them really easy to store. They're really easy to use, especially when we generally use the limes in drinks. We just usually, add sliced limes or wedges to our drinks. Sometimes we'll throw them in a smoothie or something, just add a little bit of fruit flavor. So I've been really happy with the way the limes turned out. Um, Apple slices, delicious. Pears were nice and sweet. So I'm really happy with the way this batch turned out.
I now have everything bagged up. I ended up with 3 bags of apple slices. I did the limes. After weighing each lime, I started with 12 limes, so I just divided the 227 grams by 12, ended up with 19 grams per lime. So I put between 33 and 38 grams per bag, so it's 2 limes per bag, which will make it easier. And I ended up with 19 grams left over, so I might have, didn't quite, I ended up with like 13 limes, after I put in, some of them had 33 instead of 2 grams, so I ended up with an extra 19 grams. So basically, not quite 2 limes per bag. And then the pears, I just put them in these bags here that are more, it's not a 30-year boot, it's not a Mylar bag, it's a plastic bag, and it'll just seal it for a year or 2, but this will be something we'll be eating up in the next year of snacks. There's just 5 pears that I'd bought that would go bad. They are starting to, look bad, so I just freeze-dried them as snacks to make them last another couple of weeks, because they were basically, I had to eat them either that day or freeze-dry them. So I did that, and then same thing with these grapefruits. They were just getting to the point where if I didn't eat them within a few days, they would have been really bad, so I just freeze-dried them. So I just put these in these bags so that we'd know to eat them right away. So the plastic bags, I wouldn't store those long term. Those are just for things like candy that I'm going to eat in the next few months. These Mylar bags will last for 10 or 20 years. These ones definitely last 10 or 20 years. So with the oxygen absorber inside, which I have them in all of these except for this bag here, which I'm going to use right now. So I just put that in there just to test it out and see how we like the freeze-dried limes, because I've never used them before. But that's what I've got. So I just now print labels for this and do the water calculations. I've already figured out how much water came out of the whole batch, but I just need to figure it out per bag and enter that on each label so I know how much water needs to go into each bag. So that's what I've done. So thank you for coming to my channel today. I hope I've done something here that you benefited from. If you are getting anything out of my channel, if you're learning anything, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or if there's something you'd like to see me freeze dry, please enter it in the comments and I will get around to reading the comments. I try to read, well, I've read and respond to every comment so far, so I will try to get to that, and as I'm putting up new videos I will read any unanswered comments and will reply to those. So please let me know if there's something specific you'd like me to try. I think this one ended up, I can't exactly remember if it was 20 or 24 hours that I set this for originally. I think it was 24 hours plus 7 hours of freeze time, and I just ran that basic cycle and it was complete. So it did freeze everything, all the fruit, even the limes, which I thought would take a little longer because I had it so thick and so many limes on there, but all these fruits were done in that 24-hour period. So I'm really happy with my freeze dryer. It's in the defrosting cycle right now, so I just need to let it drain out and finish warming up, and then just wash down the inside trays and start again with another batch. I still haven't got to the corn yet. Something about not wanting to open up 150 cans of corn, but I will find the energy to get that done in a couple of days here. We'll get that corn done sooner or later. But thank you again for coming to my channel, and we'll talk to you later.